Okay, I don't know why I'm going to do a video on this, but I'm going to because I literally just watched it for video purposes for this video. So if I watched it for a video, I'm going to talk about it because man, it was not worth watching. Even though it was only 6 episodes, man, those 6 episodes were rough. Woof. But today we're going to talk about the Ren and Stimpy adult party cartoon, and I do have it on DVD here. Here's the DVD of it. Um, Sorry for the blurriness, but it's my chroma cam thing here, and it comes with these anti-child lock things like on the case. It's weird. So if you guys like this video, leave a like, comment down below, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys know the drill by now. But I don't know if you can see the anti-locking things or not, but yeah, you can kind of see them. But there's the first disc, and it's 2 discs, and there's an insert with John K on it. Yes, I am aware of John K's uh, misdeeds, I guess, to put it lightly. So all the people that are angry about John K stuff, I get it. I know he's a terrible person. It's fairly evident by watching the if you watch the adult party cartoon, like, and you know what John K has done since that and since then and all that stuff, like the adult party cartoon kind of makes sense about why it's so raunchy and vulgar and just weird. Um, so we're gonna get into this video, and it's gonna be a little bit of a ride, I guess, to put it lightly. So to start off, the adult party cartoon. Hold on, let me check a couple things before I continue with my expose here. Okay, so I'm just gonna read what I'm gonna say from the Wikipedia. I'll leave a link below in the description if you want like a deep dive into this. But apparently there were uh, a lot of unaired segments and unfinished episodes and unfinished segments and or unfinished segments and episodes, not unaired, but unfinished segments and stuff. But anyway, the show ran from let me find the date here. From June 2000 June 26, 2003 to July 24th of 2003. So it didn't last too long. It only had 3 episodes on Spike TV, and then the other 3 were unaired and released on DVD. The 3 episodes that were aired on TV were Onward and Upward, Ren Seeks Help, which I'm kind of surprised that one aired because of what that dealt with, and Fire Dogs 2. The ones that didn't air were Naked Beach Frenzy, Altruist, Altruist, God, that's a hard word to say, and Stimpy's Pregnant, which I'm not surprised by those 3 episodes that they didn't air, but like I said, I'm kind of surprised they actually aired Ren Seeks Help. But anyway, to get on with the what all these episodes are about, basically, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of give you a little synopsis of what all these episodes are about. And I don't think were the DVD ones in order they planned to air, because Naked Beach Frenzy was the first episode that was on the DVD, and basically that episode's Ren and Stimpy are at the beach, and Ren is being perverted watching ladies in bikinis just run around, and it literally shows like their boobs bouncing up and down, like over accentuated. And then there's literally a part where two ladies go into the showers to get like showered off, and like I'm guessing Ren and Stimpy are supposed to be like bathroom attendants or something, because like Ren and Stimpy both help these girls, which don't look totally of age, maybe barely 18. I guess it's hard to tell with cartoons, but knowing John K's history, I would say they're not of legal age. I'm just gonna say that. But anyway, I'm not laughing because I'm laughing because it's so bad. Like, but there's there's a part where Ren is literally washing this woman's entire body, like head to toe, fill in the blanks. I don't want to say because I don't want to get demonetized. And he is waxing parts of her body. I'll just say that. And the whole time I was watching this, I was like, oh my God, this had to be one of the episodes that didn't air. And I was right. Because holy crap, just the amount of like WTF stuff in that episode is so bad. And I was like, it's a wonder this show only had 6 episodes and 3 that only aired. Because when I watched it, I didn't look up what episodes actually aired, so I wasn't sure. Um, the next episode that I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna go off this list because I don't remember the episodes of in order of the DVD. I'm gonna talk about uh Alterist or Alterist. That's a hard word to say. Basically, this episode wasn't terrible until like near the end, but it wasn't like too terrible. It was kind of weird some parts with Stimpy, but other than that, it wasn't too bad. Um, but this episode's about Ren and Stimpy stumbling upon this woman that was like a widow that just became a widow. Her husband died, didn't leave her anything, no money, whatever, and she had a handicapped son. And I was like, oh God, where's this going? Because I've watched it before this. I've only watched this once back when I bought it, and I'll explain why I bought this in a second. Like after I explain all the episodes and all that stuff. But but yeah, her handicapped son, the handicap was he had no head, which I was like, okay, like you couldn't, you didn't want to make fun of a handicapped person in any way, shape, or form, but you'll do other stuff like making policemen portrayed as pigs. Literally, I'm not even kidding about that. That's in another episode. I'll get to that in a second. Excuse me. But anyway, so Red's like, "Oh, well, happy lady," and then, um, by the way, Ren is voiced by John Kay, and Stimpy is not voiced by Billy West. I'm not sure who it is, but it's not a terrible Stimpy. It's just not a great one. But I don't care for it. I don't even care for this series, to be honest. Um, but anyway, why did my voice crack? Anyway, so they help her by robbing different houses in the neighborhood. Basically, they rob one. I think it's only one house, like a rich person's house, and they basically just take a bunch of stuff and furniture and crap like that. And they build her a house, and there's a there's a really bad like sexual joke with Ren sawing a log, and I was like, yeah, it's no wonder this show only lasted 6 episodes. That's all I'm gonna say about it. But it was like, wow, okay. Um. Anyway, So after they build the house, then at the end of the episode, they're like showing her the entire house. She walks in, she's like, "Oh my god, how can I repay you?" And then like a policeman knocks on the door. He's like an he has like an Irish accent for some reason. I don't know why, but he goes to arrest Ren and Stimpy for like stealing stuff, and then like the lady explains like, "Oh, they were doing it for me because I'm poor and don't have anything and blah 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 blah," and all this other stuff. And then the cop lets him off the hook, and then like says he's gonna move in with the lady and keep all the stuff and like marry the lady. And I'm not even kidding. He starts like massaging her boobs like vigorously, and it's like very uncomfortable. And I'm like, what the hell is happening with this? And then he's like, you know what, buddy? You can go do whatever you want. Go rob houses for 24 hours or something like that. And I was like, what? And that's how the episode ends. I'm like, okay. That episode was kind of bad, but not terrible. Like the end part was weird, but other than that, and the one part with the chicken or duck was kind of weird because like he was like making out with Stimpy at one point. And, like Stimpy was laying eggs, and they were like cat duck hybrids. I mean, it was weird, but it was like okay, that's kind of funny, but kind of fucked up at the same time. But yeah, that episode wasn't too bad. But yeah. Next episode I'll talk about is um I guess I'll talk about Ren Seeks Help because this one wasn't actually that bad. It was just more violent and like kind of Ren's backstory about why he's so violent and has like violent urges. This episode was actually pretty okay. Like I didn't mind this episode. So if there's one episode to even watch from this that's actually sort of like the original Ren and Stimpy, it'd be this one. The only thing that makes it worse is that there's like a lot of like torture and um like blood at one point. But you do get to see um Ren's parents, his mom and his dad. And his dad is like mildly abusive to his mom, so um I guess that's why they this one didn't air, right? Well, let me double check. Uh one that aired. No, this one did air. Okay, this one did air. Because this one wasn't that bad. Like I said. Okay. But anyway, so like the episode starts with Stimpy like bawling his eyes out, saying he's like he's done with his abuse and kicks him out. And then Ren it just shows Ren walking into like a psychiatrist's office building, and it's the horse from like the original Ren and Stimpy, you know, the horse that says, "Yes, sir, I like it," or "No, sir, I don't like it." That guy. If you know Ren and Stimpy, you know who I'm talking about. But he walks in there, and he's like, "I need help," and then like he starts exposing his childhood about how he was like torturing this frog, and like he didn't want to kill the frog per se, but he wanted to torture him. So he basically tortured the frog until he was like near death and kept him alive. And then his parents found out and then brought this is the part that was kind of fucked up about it. But his parents brought the frog in the house and his dad sat him down and the mom was like sobbing over it and like vomiting because of how grotesquely messed up and like messed up and like bodily damage was done to the frog. How messed up he was. Um, So his dad's like, "You have to finish the job. It's the humane way." So he pulls out a Bible, but inside this Bible is he hollowed it out and put a gun in there. So he tells Ren to take the gun and tells him to go outside in the backyard. They apparently dug a grave and put a gravestone and marked it with an axe. So they wanted to shoot him there and bury him. And he's like, they cut to his parents like, our boy has grown up so fast, and then they show that his mom and dad like vigorously making out while Ren is like supposed to be killing this frog. And I'm like, okay. So Ren's parents are just as messed up as Ren is. So that makes sense why he's so messed up. But he doesn't pull the trigger, and he takes the frog, puts him in the garbage can, and then just walks away. Then it cuts back to the horse saying, "Do you realize how fucked up this is? How fucked up you are, you sick son of a bitch!" Like he's just laying into him. Like it's crazy. And then like he starts like beating the crap out of him, and then like Rand finds a gun and starts just like pistol whipping him. He basically kills the horse, and then like he walks out, and then like it stays on the horse for a little bit, and then like around the corner you see the frog from like years ago coming in to see if Rand's still there, so he can have him finish the job because he wants to die because he's suffering. But he finds the gun and he puts it in his mouth, and you can figure out the rest what he does. But I was like, okay, that one wasn't too bad. It was violent, but it wasn't terrible per se. Like I could I could let that one slide. It wasn't too bad, honestly. But these next couple um were are kind of bad. Well, Onward and Upward wasn't too bad. Um, I'll say that one for last because that was another one that wasn't too bad. The next one I'm going to talk about is the one called Fire Dogs 2. And this is kind of a pseudo sequel to the first Fire Dogs episode, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Like it really had nothing to do with them being fire dogs. It just dealt with them being the living with the fire chief that turns into some like a caricature of the cartoonist Ralph uh Bat Bats Bat Backski. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But he turns into that like a representation of that cartoonist. I I think that's because that's who John Kay like worked with and like looked up to. So that's that's why he's based off that character, or that character's based off him, I should say. Um, but basically, I'll just keep this episode short because basically it's him moving in, like they Ren and Stimpy move in with the fire chief, which is Ralph, and he doesn't like circus midgets. They play on that joke for a little bit. It just shows him living with them, and that he's like a womanizer. He smokes, he drinks, he's lazy, he's fat, he's whatever. He lives in like a really crappy apartment. Basically, that it's nothing special. It's pretty much a forgettable episode. It just basically shows him as a womanizer and wants to just bang women. Basically, that's basically it with that episode. It's nothing special. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this episode because it was nothing special. But this this last one, which um Onward and Upward wasn't too bad either. Um It was basically them looking for a new place to live because they lived inside a homeless man's mouth, which was really weird. Like, I was like, okay, okay? Like, what? But anyway, they move out of his mouth, and they move into like a ritzy place, but it turns out it's a spittoon in a saloon or bar, and I'm like, what? And they're like eating all the excrement from like people, like that they have potatoes and like the gravy's like vomit, and they're eating like loogies and like spit from like chewing tobacco. It's a really gross episode, and I was like, oh man, this is like a nasty, gross, vulgar episode, and it's like really weird. And another thing about the adult party cartoon, it is very vulgar. Ren is smoking, drinking, more abusive verbally, and there are a few F words in it, not a lot, but a few. But he's more abusive to Stimpy. Stimpy is homosexual in this. Yes, I know it's weird, but that's the direction he went. By that I meant John K. I don't mean Stimpy. John K. went that direction with um Stimpy. And I guess Rand's like bi, I guess, because there's one episode where he actually like shows affection for Stimpy. Um and I think it's in the episode I'm talking about, which the onward and upward, which I'm surprised. I honestly don't remember because I because when I was watching, guys, I'm gonna be completely real with you guys. I was just watching to refresh my memory on how bad the show was, but I'm pretty sure it was an onward and upward. I'm pretty sure. But there's one part where Stimpy's like banging him for you know what, and apparently he likes like a baseball pitcher fantasy, and it's really freaking weird. I'm not gonna explain this thing because it's messed up. But basically, Red dresses up in a baseball uniform, and things happen with the baseball. I'll just say that, and they insinuate that they're like having relations. I don't know if they do because they don't really show it, but I would imagine they do. But yeah, that I'm surprised that made it past like airing on TV, but I guess it was okay. I guess, but it was still weird. But yeah, that episode's weird because it's just gross humor, and they basically just move back in with the um the homeless guy, and they move back in his mouth, and that's basically it. So that episode's kind of stupid, in my opinion. It's just a bunch of gross humor. That's all it really is. So it's not terrible, but it's just like, why is it so gross? Like literally, the gravy is like that they're eating with the potatoes is literally vomit, and it's nasty. I was like, damn, dude, this is gross. But yeah, and then the last episode is Stimpy's pregnant, and this episode is probably one of the worst episodes, and that's why it did. By worst, I mean like the most like vulgar, kind of messed up with what it deals with, humor wise and stuff. But it deals with Stimpy being pregnant by Ren with their love child. That's how they put it. And um, basically the entire episode's Ren basically being verbally, somewhat physically abusive to Ren of Stimpy, making him do stuff around the house, like lift heavy things, push heavy things around the house, um, things like that, and just still smacking him around, stuff like that. And when his water breaks towards the end of the episode, and they drive to the hospital, they get pulled over by a motorcycle cop, and Brand's like, "Oh great, it's the pigs," and I was like, "Oh great, they're probably gonna make a euphemism or a joke about the cop being a literal pig," and I was right, they did, but this is the part that was like messed up about this entire episode. Besides the whole pregnant thing, I'll get to that in a second. But they were speeding along, and the cop was literally, I'm not kidding about this. He was literally shooting people's tires out, making the cars veer off the road, and basically killing people to make them get to the hospital faster. And he gave Ren a shotgun, and they were just shooting cars left and right. And I was like, "What is this? Why is this happening?" And he's like, "Make way for a new life," and he's like shooting a bunch of cars. And I'm like, "What is this?" That was probably one of the reasons why it was not aired. But the other reason is probably because of how it ends. Because when Stimpy is giving birth to the baby, the nurse comes in, and by the way, the doctor is the horse again from the Ren Seeks Help episode. I believe this episode is um before Ren Seeks Help, but I'm not sure. But I don't remember. But anyway, um, so the nurse comes over. She's like, "Doctor, I need to tell you something." And then like the doctor like literally punches the nurse in the face. Says, "I'm busy helping birth the child or something," and she's like, but there's something you need to know." And then like they go over there, and they show an X-ray, and you can see in the X-ray that Stimpy is just constipated, and the horse is like, "Oh, he's just constipated." But he's like, "Look at them over there. We can't break their hearts and tell them they're not gonna have a child." So what? Oh my god! So what they do is when Stimpy gives birth to this turd or multiple turds, he molds it into like a baby and gives it kind of a a wee wee, I guess, because it's like, what do you want, a boy or a girl? And they say boy, and then they show them like they do like pinch pinch, then like they do a twisting sound effect. I guess it's kind of making a wee wee out of poop, and oh my god, he gives them this giant thing like a a turd, a literal turd that like goes when it's like a baby, and they like kiss it, and I'm like, why? Why is this an episode? And that's how it ends, and it's like, oh my god, okay. And that was the last episode that 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 I'm gonna have to talk about because I believe I talked about all of them. I'm pretty sure. I believe that was all 6 episodes. I'm almost positive I didn't miss any. Um, yeah, I talked about all of them. Okay, thank God, because I don't know. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna close with this. Yes, Ren and Stimpy, the original Nickelodeon run, was kind of like vulgar, gross humor, but it never like pushed the envelope because, in my opinion, Ren and Stimpy and Rocko's Modern Life, they're Rocko's not related to Ren and Stimpy at all. That was made by Joe Murray, but whatever. Um, but it's the same kind of humor. I literally think those shows were really geared towards adults with the kind of humor that was in there, the original runs. Because like in the original run of Ren and Stimpy, you had like Don't Whiz on the Electric Fence, um, Magic Nose Goblins, Powdered Toast Man with grabbing his butt. Um, there's a lot, a couple other things, but yeah, it was always kind of meant for adults, or you could watch it with your kids and get the adult jokes. But it was always like for kids. They always kind of kept it on the border of like okay for kids, but not too bad to where it was like super raunchy. And that's why John Kay was fired from the show, because he wanted to take Ren and Stimpy in the direction that the adult party cartoon went. And of course, Nickelodeon said no because we're not doing adult type programming, or we don't want to do those kind of jokes. So he was like, "Well, fine then I'm not doing them." And they're like, "Fine, we don't need you." And then that's how they fired him from the show, and that's when Bob Camp took over the show. Um, but yeah, if you're gonna watch any Ren and Stimpy, just stick with the original, and don't judge Ren and Stimpy by John Kay's like behavior. I wish people would like separate the show from him, because yes, he created the show like the first 2 seasons, I think, but after that he was gone after that. But like I said, the adult party cartoon definitely shows like his dark humor and the kind of stuff he's into. And I don't care what he says. Like if he's ever said like, "Oh, it's just jokes." No, like some of that stuff, especially like the nude beach episode, like you can definitely tell he's got some really screwed up sexual fantasies. So yeah, that's why I do not recommend you watch this. It's not good. You definitely don't want to watch it with kids. If you're morbidly curious about it, I don't know if it's streaming, but you can pick this up for around $15, $20 at the most. But I picked it up probably over a decade ago at a local mall of mine at a store called Suncoast. It was on sale for like, it was originally like $25. It was on sale for like 15 or something like that. And I figured for $15 to watch the rest that were unaired, it was worth it. And I mean, it was for morbid curiosity purposes, but like, am I ever gonna watch it again after this? No. Like, no, definitely not. Because I did not enjoy it. I was waiting for it to be over. Hell, every time I put in the second disc, I was like, how long is this disc? How long is this disc? They're only about an hour and a half each long, so it's not that bad. You can binge it in one day, but it's not worth it. So just stay away from this. Just act like it never existed. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. That was my video on the Ren and Stimpy lost episodes, or the Spike TV adult party cartoon. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Peace.